Hey, what's up, everybody? Perfect Gym Live Sports back here for some more sports talk, more NFL talk in this video. So, this is going to be about two NFL players, specifically two great NFL players who are holding out, looking to seek new NFL contract deals. So, first off is running back from almost said it, from the Los Angeles Chargers, Melvin Gordon. So, he is actually in the final year of his contract, which he's scheduled to make $5.6 million. He will not be at training camp, he said, which probably means he won't be participating in preseason games, which he probably won't even be playing that much as that many snaps anyway. But really what that means is he's just waiting to get a long-term deal. Usually running backs nowadays, because of how they're valued, usually want a second contract within the second to last year or the last year of their deal. Because usually what NFL teams do now is they actually franchise a guy 2 years after his deal's up, and then they just let them walk, and then teams won't pick him up for fair value in free agency. So it's a system to me that seems broken and it's unfair, but that's just how they run their business in the NFL, which kind of stinks. But the way running backs are just used in college, and then the way they hit the ground running in the NFL, they actually have a great impact early. Yeah, so it's a pretty different way that they use contracts in the NFL compared to different sports. So they're not exactly sure what the number is, but two of the highest paid players at the position currently are Todd Gurley, who actually signed an extension last year, 4 years, $60 million, and then I think he had $45 million guaranteed. So basically, a lot of times it's 4 years, $45 million, because basically you're doing the contract money, the guarantees, which is the $45 million. And then if they cut you, then the rest of that money is dead money once you made all your guaranteed money. So that's how really NFL contracts work. So he signed the 4 years, $60 million extension in LA. And then the other running back, Le'Veon Bell, actually signed this year in free agency a 4 year, $52 million deal. I think he got 30 million guaranteed. So what Melvin Gordon's looking to get is into that money range, and I believe that the Chargers don't want to go over a certain number because they're still trying to make sure that their team is still flexible. And a lot of teams don't want to pay running back that much money because as he is injury prone. He has had knee injuries in the past, and this last year he actually had a sprained MCL back in late November, and then once those injuries catch up to you because they've been used so much, then their play tends to decline. So in his place, they're going to use two running backs mainly in Austin Eckler and Austin Jackson. If it's me, I just hope he gets paid because he's been such a huge part of that team. I think he has 36 touchdowns in the last 3 years alone. So he's a guy who was used heavily in that offense. The offense doesn't necessarily run through him, but it is better when he is on the field because he creates a lot of matchups where he can catch the ball in the backfield. He's a great runner, mainly outside the tackles. Not inside the tackles, he's okay, but mainly when he gets outside and is able to, really use his moves, he's a better running back. So that's usually where his value is really used at. But at this moment, he's expected to hold out, and he said he would hold out into the regular season if he had to and request a trade, which would really stink for the Los Angeles Chargers because, to me, even though they have two good running backs behind him, they're just not the same because he's one guy who can do all the things that they can do, and he's just, to me, he's their better player. So I hope he gets his deal, and, it's one thing that the NFL just really just kind of ticks me off about is, you don't pay the players when they should be paid, and then, they hold out. Then the season comes, they're not in shape because everybody wanted to play holdout. So, But the next player is New Orleans Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas, who wants to get paid $20 million a year, which would be the highest in NFL history. Now, he's also a big part of the Saints because he caught 125 passes last year for 1,404 yards, I believe. So, he was really Drew Brees' guy over the middle who he would throw to on short crossing routes, deep routes. Not necessarily deep routes because Drew Brees doesn't throw a lot of deep balls anymore. That's not really his thing. but that he's a huge important piece to the New Orleans Saints. So I think they're going to work out a deal. But he's only scheduled to make like what, over $3 million this year because he was signed in the second round, so he doesn't get a fifth-year option. I should also tell you before I get back to Michael Thomas that if Melvin Gordon actually holds out this whole entire season, which to me he probably won't, then his deal will roll over into the next year. So that also is a big question mark. But back to Michael Thomas. To me, he's actually one of the best wide receivers in the league. To me, top 10 easily. Great hands, really good speed, elite size. He's 6'3", 212. So he's got the size, he's got the hands, he's got the speed to do it. But then again, when you're paying skills positions like the running back and the wide receiver, usually you're paying your quarterback $20 million plus. And once you start getting into that, it just, because players like him, they reset the market with these new contracts. Because once you become a really good player, and even though sometimes you may not be elite, but guess what? You get elite money because that's what the market calls for. When it's your time to get paid, that's what happens. So, and this to me also reminds me that Ezekiel Elliott's looking for a new deal along with Melvin Gordon. So just look out for, I think Ezekiel Elliott was a no-show at training camp today as well. And also their quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, because Ezekiel Elliott plays for the Cowboys, their quarterback for the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, is actually practicing, but he actually wants a new deal too. And like I said, quarterbacks are getting paid up to, a lot of times good quarterbacks, over $30 million now. So he wants a contract in that ballpark, which to me I don't agree on, because he's a good quarterback, but he has a lot of great teammates around him, which help him kind of succeed. So he's a really good player. He makes a lot of good decisions, but to me, I would pay Dak Prescott maybe 25, but I wouldn't go above 28. That's my big thing. I wouldn't go above 28 million. I think what happens is these quarterbacks get paid so much because, like I said, this is the thing about the NFL. The market demands it, but then the team kind of suffers because it's hard to build around. Because unlike the NBA, you actually have a hard cap where you legit cannot go over that cap. If you do that in the NBA, you pay the luxury tax, which a lot of teams do. Golden State's is in that place right now. I think Houston's probably going to be there. A lot of teams are in that place. So NFL, you can't necessarily do it. So then you're kind of strapped for which positions you're going to pay. So if the Dallas Cowboys decide to do this with Dak Prescott, to me, they're really kind of hindering what they can do. And then they have to actually focus on Amari Cooper as well. Byron Jones for the Cowboys. So a lot of good players are actually coming up on deals. A lot of guys actually hold out just in the NFL just to get those deals. It works and then it doesn't work, because when you hold out, you're missing out on training, conditioning, which actually helps during preseason game as well. Even though starters actually only play one series in the preseason in the first game, I think they play 2 series in the second game. First half in the third game, and then I think they play either 3 quarters or the full game in the fourth game. So you're missing out on a lot of conditioning and preparation that you don't get back just because you come back in the first game of the season. So while I understand why the holdout works, it does hurt the player as well, and it does hurt the team, because guess what? You guys are both suffering because the preparation is missed. So my biggest problem with the NFL, like I keep telling you guys, that these owners kind of like to play mind games with these players, and they don't want to pay the running backs, and the running backs are undervalued because of this age issue, which to me is kind of false. It just, once you start, the analytics say it, and then you want to put everybody in that same category, but to me that's just not true. So, but I think that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for listening. Those are the main guys who are actually due for contracts. I mean, I like watching football. It's just, I don't like the way the rules are, how these guys are getting hoodwinked, it's just not a fair deal. I love, like I said, I like watching football. I love the NFL. But the more over the years that I've learned about this, really in the main past 2 years, it's just like the business behind it is crazy. So always when you guys read this stuff, always be aware that the business is crazy and the owners are really just trying to make a lot of profit. Some of them probably do love the players that they play for them, but at the end of the day, most of these owners are really about making money. So that's why Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job, because he would cost the owners money because fans didn't like what he did. So not to bring that back up, just saying. Well, thank you guys for listening again. Purpose Driven Live Sports, or just Purpose for short, and we'll see you guys in my next video.